This podcast is brought to you by the Deluxe Edition Network. To find more great shows on our network, head over to TheDen.show.
Hold on, stop. Welcome back to the Shit Show 2.0.
Okay, Boomer.
Damn millennials. Wow.
Did not know that. Even flirters who are obviously mentally ill. You want to be my wife?
Oh, this is gonna go downhill real quick.
What is going on, and welcome to Take on the World with Nathan Blaze and Mike D. Nathan joining me again today. I see you have the space taste.
Yes, the space taste.
Starlight Coke.
Oh, nice and loud.
That stuff's a little weird.
I do like it, though. I know people are very mixed about it, but I really like it.
Well, it's like, if you watch the stuff on YouTube, it's like one extreme or the other.
There is no in-between with this one.
No. I have the last of my Angel Envy.
Very expensive. Very nice. He likes it a lot. I can tell you that for sure.
I also have a little something special in my special cup.
Brotherhood of Beer.
The Brotherhood of Beer cup. But I will save that till my Angel Envy is gone.
Which won't be long.
No, it won't be long at all. So, we're back again. Nathan decided to join me, which I appreciate. And
of course, it's a pleasure.
we are going to be covering some phrases and terms, trying to talk about the origins. We don't have the origins for all of them. Some of the phrases and terms we're just going to talk about, specifically one that Nathan is no longer allowed to say in this house.
Got caught saying it one too many times. You'll be surprised.
There's actually two phrases you're not supposed to say in this house.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the second one?
Coolio.
Oh, Coolio. You actually looked up the origin of that?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
I just know Lexi doesn't like it.
I don't think Mom likes it either.
I like it. It's cool. It's Coolio.
Coolio.
So, without too much further ado, we're going to jump right in. And, the reason why this came up is because I always like to know where shit comes from.
Well, yeah.
Like, when I talk about this, I'm talking about terms like that we use every day. Well, some of these we don't use anymore. Some of these are a little old-fashioned for you.
Yeah, when I was looking at it, there's a couple.
But these are things that I've heard throughout my life, and I always wonder, where the hell did that come from? Like, it's raining cats and dogs, or the elephant in the room, or half past the monkey's ass and quarter to his ball.
Never before did I hear that. That is a brand new one. Very brand new, and I think you just made that up.
No, I'm going to tell you where it comes from. Well, I'm going to tell you how I heard the term. So you walk up to someone and you say, "Hey, what time is it? What time is it?" And they look at their watch and they say, "Half past the monkey's ass according to his ball," which kind of means you should get your own watch and figure it out for yourself.
Okay.
But the root of that is very much different. And I saved that one till close to the end.
All right.
But it's actually pretty interesting. And some of these things are really based in history. Oh, you know what? I don't even know if this was on here. And I know I put it on. I lost some of my research.
Forgot to hit that good old save button.
I might have. Yeah, I don't think it's on here. It's not. Let the cat out of the bag. Remember we talked about that?
I was going to say that. I do remember where you said that came from, though, or two of the places they think it came from.
Right. So if you ever wondered where these things came from, you've tuned in to us on the right day. Because we're going to go through some of them. Some of them, since I lost some of my research, I have to do by memory. So my origin of these terms may be a little off.
Yeah, and plus, a lot of these terms were very ambiguous where they thought they came from.
Right. Some of them have like more than one possible origin.
And some of them, they just say it came from this dialect, we think.
Right. Like, with jank, they said came from, Nordic. I don't know. I
Yes, the Nords.
yeah.
Their blood runs through me.
So, when I originally did my research and put a lot of time into this, I wrote down the phrase like "cat got your tongue" and what it's used for in modern conversation. You hear this all the time, talking about someone who is suddenly quiet when you're expecting them to chime in. So we're having a conversation, and I'm expecting you to chirp up and say something, and you don't say anything. Like, "Cat got your tongue?"
Oh, so me when the first time I was on this podcast.
No. You did well the first time you were on.
I felt like I was a little tame.
It was a little interview.
Yeah.
There was 4 of us at the table. We all pick up our slack. So this particular term has 2 possible origins. On an English naval ship, the punishment for violating any one of the rules was to be tied to the mast and whipped or flogged. So when they whipped them with the cat o' nine tails. And it was extremely painful and left the victim speechless. So this also goes with let your cat out of the bag.
That's what I was going to say. That's where I thought that the cat o' nine tails was from.
Yeah.
Or,
So the cat's out of the bag. It's no longer a surprise. They reached in, they pulled the cat o' nine tails out. So the likelihood that this is actually the origin for this one,
for cat out of the bag.
cat out of the bag or cat got your tongue, is probably not so, because both of them have the same origin.
Yeah.
But there's another origin for cat out of the bag. We'll get there. The second origin for cat got your tongue was the other could be rooted in ancient Egypt, where the punishment for lying was to have their tongues cut out and fed to the cats, leaving them unable to speak, much less lie.
Very, very, very brutal.
Yes, it is.
But, I would say I would I would wager a decent bit of money, if I was a gambling person, that the one from Egypt is definitely where cat got your tongue came from.
It seems more likely, especially since it goes back farther.
Yeah.
In history, but like I said, you never know. I know you youngsters say stuff that I'm like,
oh, trust me. We say stuff that I get lost on, and it's only getting worse as I get older.
And I think you guys just make shit up. You just pull shit out your ass and try to make it mean something.
Yeah, sometimes.
Guilty.
I would, yeah. We find a way to find simplistic things and make them have some form of significance.
The next one is "the walls have ears." It's a phrase that's used when someone wants to keep something private, warning that someone could be listening.
I have heard this one.
Okay, and I saw 2 different origins for this one as well. I kind of liked this origin, and then when I was looking around, I saw another possible origin, and they said that this one is not the origin, but I like this one, so I put this one down.
Oh, okay. Well, you just write whatever you want.
Yeah, I do.
It's your podcast.
My podcast. I do what I want. In the 1500s, it's the Medmichis. Because I wrote it phonetically on how it was pronounced. In France, at the Louvre Palace, had listening tubes in every room, so the Queen Catherine could discover political secrets that for people trying to plot or overthrow against her. So I know these tubes exist.
Okay.
Um, I, they were thought to be communication tubes, like the people literally tried to communicate with them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're saying they were put in as listening devices, which I thought back in the 1500s they're bugging somebody's room.
That sounds very cool, and I would buy into that. I'd buy into that. Now, what's the other one you read?
I don't remember because I didn't write it down, and I did this research weeks ago.
Yeah, we were supposed to do this episode a while ago. I'll take the blame for that one.
But I don't know. That's pretty cool.
No, and you know what? I think I have heard that story about there being a palace and someone listening in through listening tubes.
So, let's see. You want to do the next one?
Bury the hatchet. So, you use bury the hatchet, putting an argument to rest. Like, that's it. You're ending it. You're
end of a conflict.
Yeah.
And there's also two possible origins for this.
Yes. So it's thought that it came from negotiations between Puritans and Native Americans, that they would bury their weapons so that they would avoid violence when they're doing their peace talks.
Right. So they couldn't, even if someone got mad and wanted to be violent, they couldn't get to them because they were buried.
Yeah.
It is actually thought to go back further than that, also with the Native American tribes, that they were doing the same thing when they were negotiating, and it was a sign of good faith between the two tribes to leave your weapons buried and outside the negotiations so that nothing could transpire like that. So they both of the possible origins go back to the Native Americans.
Which is actually pretty cool.
But you would think that maybe some of the Nordic people would do the same thing, although it doesn't specifically say that anyplace. I'm just speculating.
Well, yeah.
I don't know.
Bury the hatchet might even this is just me throwing a shot in the dark or whatever. Throwing a shot.
So now, a funny thing about Bury the Hatchet, the show that I've never seen any of the episodes of, MASH.
Oh yeah, not a single one. Neither have I.
I've probably seen every episode of MASH like 10 times, 15 times. I actually was such a big fan of MASH. I used to have MASH trivia cards for like Trivial Pursuit. On, I think it was the final episode, they buried a hatchet on the thing, and it was like, while we're doing this and doing this and doing this, we might as well bury the hatchet. And it was like the end of strife between. There was inner conflict in the camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
as you always have when there's that many people, different personalities around,
and on reality TV shows.
Yeah, but in the end, they were all. It's like Navy guys. You go out to a bar, and the Marines and the Navy are always going to be going back and forth with one another, poking fun, calling names, demeaning each other. But heaven forbid if somebody, hey, a podcast therapy dog came to visit us. Heaven forbid if someone from the public would start picking on a Marine or a Navy guy, because every military person in that bar would stand up and defend that guy. And I actually, funny, I just watched a video, the stupid video shorts.
Yeah.
So I was watching this video, and it's this guy walking through, it looks like New York City, and he's got this big burly security guy with him. And the guy who was walking bumped into a sailor. And the sailor turned around and looked at him like this, and the security guy stepped up, and all of a sudden there was like 10 sailors there, and the security guy took off. Now, it was probably staged, but it's funny, because it's true.
Yeah.
But the camaraderie in that camp was, so much that, hey, let's put all that behind us, because now we have this common thing. We're all going home, back to our lives. We can be friends in the real world.
Yeah.
I always thought that was cool.
I really thought that show was amazing, and that's not like the type of thing that someone my age would probably see.
About the Korean War, like,
yeah,
I don't even remember the Korean War. That was before my time. So,
And I think most of the people who I know that watch it, that are my age, don't even know it's about the Korean War.
well, yeah, that's true. So the next one on the list is cold feet. To get cold feet. It's often used to describe loss of nerve or confidence, like getting cold feet before a wedding, before you're supposed to get married. And this has conflicting origins.
Yes, because I actually heard an origin about this.
We'll pop it off.
I heard that cold feet came from Air Force pilots when they were flying because of the altitude.
Ah.
Their feet would actually get cold.
Well, I was just the other day, I was watching a video on, no, I'm sorry, I was not watching a video. I was listening to Barrel Age Podcast. Barrel Age Flicks. And they were doing, what was the movie? Because they just did War's Hell series for Memorial Day. And they were talking about the bomber movie. I don't know why I can't think of it now, because I love the movie. Anyway, they were talking about how high they were in altitude, and there was really no insulation, and it wasn't a sealed cabin.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cold as hell up there. And so that makes sense, like the cold feet thing.
Now, what did you find in your research?
The origins of this one comes from a military term describing warriors who had frozen feet were not able to rush into battle. And that goes back before the Revolutionary War. If you look at the Revolutionary War and George Washington's troops didn't have shoes. They were wrapping rags around their feet. Valley Forge. It was so cold, and they didn't know if some of them could fight because of this. I know that's not the origin. This goes back to farther back than that.
Even farther than that.
I would think another source attributes it to the origin to American writer Stephen Crane, who coined the phrase in a short novel, Maggie, a Girl of the Streets, in 1896. But I didn't find exactly what it was referring to in that. But now, one of the places I went said that it does not have to do with the warriors going into battle.
Okay.
But that was one place out of 50. 50 places all said this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I looked around a lot for some of these.
Oh, yeah. I know I sat down with you when you were looking for one of them. I forget which one it was, but how deep that rabbit hole went.
Oh, yeah. And that's why I like this stuff. Because, number one, I like learning shit.
Well, yeah.
Number two, I like knowing where these terms come from. Like, this has been a topic that I want to do since we started the podcast 75 episodes ago. So,
and I can tell you this for sure, you do love showing off that you know these things.
Well, you do too.
Isn't that why you started the podcast?
No, I started the podcast because I wanted to have fun. And I think we do when we do it. You want to do this?
Caught red-handed. So, I think we all know what this is. You're caught. You were stealing something, doing something bad, and gotcha. And they got you. Now, this could date back farther than the 18th century, really. There was, what was it? A law that says if someone butchers or poaches an animal that didn't belong to them, they were not guilty unless they still had the animal's blood on their hands.
Yeah.
So if they were caught with blood red-handed, they would be guilty. But if they did not still have it on their hands, they were not.
They were not guilty of anything. Because it's like prove where the meat came from.
Yeah.
So I thought that one was interesting, and
that's a surprise of all of the things my brain and its enigma of its mechanisms could think of.
Yeah.
That was not one of them.
No. You know what? I was thinking someone was stealing something and the just fresh paint and they got paint on their hands or something like that. That's where I thought it was going to go. And then I'm reading this, You're not guilty of poaching as long as you don't have the blood still on your hands when they come to get you.
I mean, an odd law, but for the term's sake, it makes sense.
That's another podcast I'd love to do.
Weird laws.
Weird laws that are on the books. Because at one point, I don't know if it still is, but it was illegal someplace to sit on a park bench with an ice cream in your back pocket. Okay, who's the asshole putting ice cream in their back pocket?
I will say this, but not to get too off topic.
It's okay, we do it all the time.
I know of a Pennsylvania law, and actually a thing for Boy Scouts as well, but I'm going to focus on the Pennsylvania law. You cannot go fishing using your mouth. You cannot dive into the water and use your mouth to catch a fish in PA.
Who tested this? And I want to know why they felt the need to make this law. Were there so many people mouth fishing in Pennsylvania?
Now, here's the Boy Scout one. Now, this is going to be getting way off topic, but here's the Boy Scout one. In the first edition of the Boy Scout Handbook, in one of the first chapters, the safety chapter, one of the first things it states is that under no circumstances shall a Boy Scout ever operate a hand mortar. Who messed up? Who messed up that bad? That badly that they needed to put it in the Boy Scout Handbook First Edition.
That is crazy. It's like that meme of the sign at the park. It says no, and it has a dog on a skateboard, smoking, carrying alcohol, and I'm like, what kind of fucking party was this?
How do you get the dog to do all that?
Here's another. Like, everybody who knows me knows I'm a big 2A guy, Second Amendment. We don't do politics on this, and this is not a political thing. But in Pennsylvania, you have open carry and you have concealed carry. So you can open carry without a concealed carry permit. But your gun has to be open. So if you get in a vehicle, it's covered. So not technically, you absolutely need a concealed carry permit to transport a weapon in the car unless you're going directly to or from a gun range. And in that case, it has to be in a case, blah, 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 blah. However, I sat down with a Second Amendment lawyer and talked to him, and he went over a bunch of things. And if you get on a skateboard, because the law basically holds you, any mode of conveyance is considered a vehicle. So if you get on a skateboard, even if you're open carry that's not covered, you need a concealed carry permit technically.
Wow.
If you're on roller skates, if you're on a scooter, if you're on one of those hoverboard things, and you have your weapon on you, you have to have a concealed carry permit. Otherwise, you possibly could be charged for carrying a concealed weapon without a license.
I guess when it comes down to you on your hoverboard, it really depends on the local police and if he's having a bad day or not.
If I'm on a hoverboard, it's a bad day for everybody.
Okay, fair. So if you do that, you'll definitely have to invite me to that show. Because there's a couple wacky laws I'll have to go and touch up because I don't remember where they're from and the exact wording.
There is always a chair right there for you whenever we come down here.
Well, let me know when you're doing weird laws, and I will come down, and I will blow your mind with some of the stupid laws.
You know I will research the shit out of that.
Oh, yeah.
So let's move on with the terms, because we did get a little off the rails. This one I found very interesting. Blood is thicker than water. The meaning now is family is the strongest and most important bonds in our lives.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. But the origins of this is counterintuitive to that.
Really?
So, while this is used by people to put family ahead of friends, it kind of meant the opposite. The actual phrase was, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. And it referred to warriors who shared blood that they shed in battle. and they created a bond that can never be broken. These blood brothers are said to have a stronger bond than biological brothers. This is what I was just talking about with the Navy guys and the Marine guys.
Yeah.
Like, now I was in the Navy. I didn't see action like that. But these guys who go in the field, and mad props to everyone. Thank you for everybody who served. And everybody who served knows what I'm talking about. Like when I was in boot camp, we were put to the test, and there were guys around you. You had to lean on each other because at some point, it just wasn't like you could make it through on your own, but it makes it so much harder when you can lean on a guy next to you. It makes it so much easier, and you come to count on those people, and they come to count on you, and that's what this blood is thicker than water actually means. Like these people who you've seen hell with, who you've walked through fire, it's like that for police, it's like that for firefighters, first responders. It's like that in my profession. There are guys that I work with that probably particularly don't like me much, but they knew if it came down to it, I'd be right there. And that's where this came from. And I just thought that was interesting because
That's actually really cool.
yeah, we always look at it as blood's thicker than water. Hey, bro, you're my son. Nobody come between us. But when the reality is there's guys who've been in the military, who've been in the shit, who've seen stuff that we'll never see, and they've seen it together. And the only reason they made it through is because of each other. And that bond is a bond that can never be broken. Now, family has always been number one for me.
Oh, yeah.
So, but, I have my close friends that I have that would do anything for me and I would do anything for them. So, I just thought that was interesting.
Oh, yeah. I like your last little note right there.
Bros before hoes, dude. You want to do this one?
Sure. This next one I actually thought was much more literal.
It is.
Okay. Bite the bullet. To do something, as to word it as a dictionary would. To do something difficult or unpleasant that would cause discomfort in some shape or form that you have been putting off.
Okay.
Or in simple terms,
Doing something you didn't want to do.
yes.
That's kind of like taking one for the team.
Yeah.
So, bite the bullet. I don't really want to go to work today, but I'm going to bite the bullet and go.
I don't want to go to work.
I don't really want to go out and cut the grass, but I guess I got to bite the bullet and go cut the grass.
I don't want to cut the grass.
I don't really want to drink another beer, but I'm going to bite the bullet and do it.
Okay, maybe not that one. So, I had always thought that this was literally like taking a bullet or, some kind of injury. Like, I always thought that that's where it came from. And
Okay.
is that close?
It is. During battle, when supplies of painkillers and anesthesia were low or missing, medics would sometimes, and sometimes even surgeons, would have the patient bite down on a bullet or a stick or a belt to distract them from the pain. The likelihood is it wasn't a bullet the way we think of it. It would be like a musket ball.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is disputed.
Okay.
However, I left this origin in because it makes more sense to me than anything else. Because I've seen someone be triaged in a field. I've seen I've seen someone, look here, bite down on this. I've seen it happen. Personally, face to face, I've seen it happen. I don't have any morphine to give you. Bite down on this. This is gonna hurt. Or do you remember when you were little? You know how much I hated shots.
Yes.
Do you remember going with me for my shot?
Yes.
And that doctor thought it was so funny when you said, "Dad, I'll hold your hand while you get the shot." And you sat there and you held my hand. I got the shot, and it made it better. Number one, because I was kind of laughing inside that you said that you were such a compassionate young man that you were willing to hold my hand. Well, I got something that I disliked.
I hated shots just as much as you did, maybe more when I was little.
When you were little, you really, oh my God. Oh
so
my-
bad. I remember it being bad.
I remember when you were a baby, and they gave you a shot. Uh, they gave you a shot, and you didn't flinch, you didn't move nothing, and then you saw the needle, and you just screamed. You started shaking, you started screaming, but you didn't do it till after you saw the needle, and it was a good 8-second delay. It was like. Yeah, it was funny.
I didn't realize that that's why. Is that why I was scared of needles? I always thought it was because when I had to get the 4 shots.
I don't know.
Because I thought it was because of the way the doctor just.
Oh, dude. Now the shot that I got in my knees when you were there, that's painful because I have a lot of scar tissue in my knee.
Yeah.
But the one time when I was down there, they put a bigger gauge needle in. They drained my knee first,
Ugh.
and then she knew I hated needles. So what she did, she drained the knee. She flushed it with. She kept the needle in, flushed it with saline, and then went back and put the injection in the same needle, so she didn't jab me twice, which was very nice. But it always hurt when I got them drained.
Ugh.
And that needle, I swear, it's like this long. That. All the way in. Yes.
Uh-oh, what did I knock out?
I don't know. That was your microphone.
John's fault.
Brat.
John's fault.
All right, so raining cats and dogs.
To literally rain cats and dogs, free adoption day.
It is literal. So it means to rain a lot or rain hard. Again, there's more than one possible origin. One was some Norse mythology, where cats would symbolize heavy rains and dogs were associated with the god of storms, Odin, or Odie. Odie the dog, get it? That's a joke.
I get it, but I'm astonished by the fact that this is actually literal.
It even gets more literal that with the second meaning. The second meaning dates back to the 16th century in England. The houses would have thatch roofs, which is basically bundles of sticks. So those roofs were one of the only places animals could go to get warm. So when the rains got too heavy and the roofs got slippery, cats and dogs would fall off the roofs, making it look like it was raining cats and dogs.
That literal in both senses.
Yeah.
However, I now am reminded of my high school English teacher ragging on us for using the word literal.
Well, because people use literal way too much.
Well, because literal means in writing sense. Technically, the term we should be using is actual.
Yeah.
However, in my retort on my paper to my English teacher, simply, I don't care.
Well, it has come to mean literally, which means as if in writing. I don't know what that is. I don't know. Which means as if in writing, which means as if actually. So, but the problem is people say, I'm literally going to die. No, you're not literally going to die. You are going to figuratively die. You're going to feel like you figuratively died, but you're not literally going to die.
You're going to feel that you're figuratively.
There was a guy in Congress made some kind of speech, and he goes, I'm literally going to get on my knees. And he kind of bent down. He goes, but I'm not going to get on my knees. Well, then you're not literally getting on your knees.
No, you are literally going to be in pain after he punches you in the face for being annoying. And I will sit back and laugh.
Anywho. You want to do this one?
Oh, yes.
Because we talked about this one.
We did. And we talked about another saying that we thought maybe related to this.
What was it?
The other one was burning the bridge.
Oh, yeah.
And that makes this one crossing the bridge when we get to it. That you don't need to worry about something until it literally actually happens. So, I forget exactly what we said. I forget exactly what the research was. But it was something like... Well, it was an author that coined the term, wasn't it?
Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Deeds. Not deeds. This was first spotted in The Golden Legend in 1851. And the quote was, "Don't cross the bridge till you come to it," is an old proverb of excellent wit. But if it's an old proverb of excellent wit, it means it went back farther than 1851.
Were we ever able to find...
No, that's all I found on this.
Okay.
Henry Wadsworth Longfellow.
It probably has to do with, like, travel.
Well, look, there's a bridge over there, but we ain't got to worry about that till we get there.
Yeah.
There's an ogre over there. We don't have to cross that bridge till we get to it.
You put the ogre in there just because I'm a nerd.
Not just because, but that's part of it, yeah.
Okay.
There's that damn fruit fly that's always down here when we're down here.
How is it alive?
I don't know. I thought John killed it like 15 times. It might be a cat fly.
Probably.
9 lives.
Has to be. Now, burning the bridge, I didn't do research on it.
Where did I put my phone?
It's right there.
If you haven't, I'm going to look it up.
Okay. And while you look it up, I'm going to talk because I like the sound of my voice. And my voice is very comforting to myself. And perhaps others. Now, seriously. Burning the bridge, what I think it has to do is that bridges connect two lands. They connect two, like, masses of land.
But I did hear a origin for burning the bridge, but go ahead.
Okay. It connects two lands, and if you to burn a bridge, that would be cutting ties or ending relations with the other side of the bridge.
Right.
And I bring up burning a bridge just because cross the bridge, that type of thing. Just makes me think of it.
So, the origin of that one, originally in military sense of intentionally cutting off one's own retreat, burning a bridge that one has crossed to commit oneself to a course of action, later used to primarily mean alienate former friends.
So I was kind of right.
Yeah.
Kind of, not quite.
Now, what I had heard was pretty much the same thing. In some war, I don't know what it was. The soldiers were intrepid about. They didn't want to push on, and their leader, whoever he was, captain, whatever, legionnaire, whatever, I don't know. Anyway, he set the bridge on fire so that they couldn't retreat, and basically said, "I've burned that bridge. We cannot go back. You have to move forward."
Okay.
That's what I had heard, and that kind of means the same thing, but it doesn't actually give an origin per se. What do they say? It's an etymology. Etymology.
I
don't know. Anyway, so have you ever heard anybody referred to as a bigwig?
Yes, I have. But I've mostly only heard old people use it.
Watch your mouth.
I'm not saying you. You're young and spry yet.
So a bigwig is an important person in a particular sphere. So in the sphere of this podcast, I'm the big.
Debatable.
Not really. Because I've ended debate and I won. Hence, I'm the bigwig. Anyway.
So, I thought that this came from Congress because they'd wear the big powdered wigs.
But that would be in Great Britain. They still wear the powdered wigs when they go to the judges. Still wear powdered wigs.
Okay.
This origin is back to the 18th century. The most important political figures, you're correct in a way, would wear the biggest wigs. Hence, today's influential people are called bigwigs.
All right.
So you are right.
All right. Point for Nathan.
I'm still the bigwig because I'm the big boss. Nothing goes on in this podcast that I don't first approve. So, the next one is one close to near and dear to my heart.
Oh.
One for the road. Usually referring to as one last drink before you leave. But it could mean one last anything before you leave. If you're with your snuggle buddy, your girlfriend, one last kiss before you leave. If you're at a party, I'll have one cheeseburger for the road. I'll have one last tortilla chip filled with 7-layer dip for the road. If you're a druggie, one last puff on the shishi before you hit the road. If you're doing other stuff, be one last woohoo before the road.
What?
One explanation was, during the Middle Ages, someone condemned to death. Now, this one is disputed. I put this out there as this one's disputed.
Okay.
But I love this origin.
Okay, go on.
Disputed or not. During the Middle Ages, someone was condemned to death. They were taken down a road that is known today as Oxford Street to their execution. During this final trip, the cart would stop, and they would be allowed to have one final drink before their death. This is widely contested. However, I love that. It goes to like the condemned man last request.
Yeah.
Do you have any last request before we kill you? Yes, set me free. No. Bye. The other, and what they say is probably more likely, the second referred relating to a stirrup cup, where a traveler was seated on his horse, feet in the stirrups, and was offered one last drink before they depart. Drinking and driving. Bastards.
Even the cowboys.
Well, I think this goes back much farther than the cowboys.
Cowboys are the only people who ever rode horses. Cowboys invented horse riding.
Okay. I kind of like the first one.
You know, the first one, I can definitely see why you like it.
And the thing is when I was researching this, I was checking out a bunch of different sites.
Mm-hmm.
I would put the term in. I would type in Google Origin, and then some of the same sites would come up over and over. But what I found is a lot of those sites just copied these words for word and repeated them on their site. In fact, some of the videos that I watched pertaining to word origin, word for what those websites said.
Really?
Yes. So that's why I look for deeper meanings,
mm-hmm.
and have on many of these found multiple origins. Because nobody knows for sure.
Well, yeah, they're so old and so widely used, it's hard to really tell.
Elephant in the room. Meaning that there is some large issue looming that nobody wants to talk about. There are many theories to the exact origin, and the origin is rather uncertain. So here's a few that I found to be quite credible. And I think there's like 4 or 5 of them.
Jeez.
Like, because no one knows. 1841, Andreev Krylov, a poet, and what the hell's a fabulist?
Fabulist.
I don't know what the hell that is. Oh, a fabulist.
Oh, maybe.
He wrote, because he wrote a fable entitled The Inquisitive Man, which tells of a man who goes to the museum and notices all sorts of things, but fails to notice an elephant. Suddenly, the phrase became proverbial, as this metaphorical expression describes perfectly when, in many cases, people refuse to talk about an obvious problem.
Okay.
I'm not going to pronounce his name. In his novel, Demons, wrote,
What a nice sounding novel.
Yeah. Belinsky was just like Krylov's Inquisitive Man, who didn't notice the elephant in the museum, which actually goes back to the same for the first one.
All right.
Wikipedia states that the Oxford Dictionary credits the New York Times newspaper June 20th, 1959. Now, you're going from 1814
to 1959.
to 1959. They're saying that was the first recorded use of this phrase. There was supposedly a line from it that read, "Financing schools has become a problem equivalent to having an elephant in the living room. It's so big you just can't ignore it." You know what? I go back to the Russian dude. Prost to him.
Yeah.
So now, I had a bunch more on here, and when we open this document up, there.
Someone forgot to click on the little floppy disk drive in the corner.
Yeah, but when I close this, it saves.
Well, that's the backup save. That backup save sometimes, especially on the older versions of Word.
It's not Word. This is the fake Word.
Oh. Well, take this with a grain of salt. That's another one we worked on.
And we did look it up, too.
We did.
Oh, it had to do with the
Poison.
Yes. So here's one for you. Take this with a grain of salt. Supposedly,
I forget what the poison was.
Someone was feeding somebody poison and they didn't notice it because they put a grain of salt in it, made it taste salty rather than bitter.
Yeah.
That was the gist of it. That might not be the exact thing. Don't quote me on it. If it's wrong, it's Nathan's fault.
It was something about the salt helping reduce the poisoning.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, but we had a long discussion on this on our trip down to Philly, where where me and Nathan, as well as me and John, got the best pizza that has ever walked the face of the earth.
Oh, yes.
Angelo's.
Oh, yes. Now, I may not have had as much pizza as John and him, but I have to say it's certainly the best pizza I've ever had, and from what I've heard from those two, the best pizza they ever had. So that's three lifetimes. Well, 2 lifetimes, 19 years of pizza tasting experience.
If we were in the Middle Ages, that would be a lifetime, 19 years.
Yes, it would.
So, I have on here break a leg. And there is, again, more than one meaning, or more than one origin. There's the one that I originally heard, which is break a leg means good luck.
Yeah.
Especially in theatrical things. Dad, I got a big test today. Break a leg, buddy. It's said in the theater because saying good luck is actually bad luck in theater.
Yes.
So the one meaning was the most common theory refers to an actor breaking the leg line of the stage. In the early days of the theater, there were ensemble actors who were cued to perform. If the actors were not performing, they had to stay behind the leg line, which also meant they didn't get paid. So if you're telling an actor to break a leg, you're wishing them the opportunity to perform and get paid. The sentiment remains today. The term good luck means good luck or give a good performance. Also, the other possible, in Victorian times, the crowd would stomp their feet or chairs to cheer a good performance. So break a leg would mean that you did so good that they would break their leg or break the leg of the chair because you were that good at what you did.
That one I've heard.
That's the one I originally heard. The other one, the leg line, didn't know until I did the research.
That's actually very interesting.
Yeah.
I knew about the leg line, but I did not know what it was called.
Well, because you're a theater person.
Well, yeah. Was.
I am closing my Brotherhood of Beer Stein.
Very sad day. Very sad day.
This is usually when me and John take a break, and I go get another beer. So, break. I just wanted to mention quick that we are on the Deluxe Edition Network, which is TheDen.show. It's just a place where there's a bunch of great podcasts.
Many great podcasts.
Yeah. Actually, on my podcast list are 3/4 of the podcasts on the Den Network. I listen to them all the time. So be sure to check out the Den.show. Speaking of the Den Network, don't forget to check out the Den.show and this month's Spotlight podcast, which is Barrel Age Flicks. These guys and gals get together. They talk about movies. They drink a little whiskey. And I am, right now, going to raise a glass of Angel Envy Bourbon to the Barrel Age Flicks crew. Keep on doing what you're doing. If you haven't checked them out, do so now. Don't forget the Den.show. Look for the Spotlight podcast link, and it'll take you right to them. And we're back after that short break. We only have a couple more to go. This one, half past the monkey's ass, according to his balls.
Still. No idea. Never heard it.
Like I said, it used to mean when I was younger, someone asked you what time, who's half past the monkey's ass, according to his balls. And that meant, dude, get your own watch. Figure it out for yourself.
You see, we have much simpler terminology.
Yeah, get a watch.
It's time for you to get a watch. Or, I guess...
Well, we did that too. But this was the more draw everybody's attention to the fact that you don't have a watch, you don't know what the fuck's going on.
I've heard 2 hairs past the freckle. Yeah. But that was from very strange people.
Yeah, a.k.a. Nathan's friend. So, this one's interesting because it goes back to the British Navy again. The monkey's ass was a device on a British warship that dispensed warm cannonballs. They'd warm them before they shot them.
Why?
Warming the cannonballs was necessary prior to firing to get predictable characteristics in the barrel.
Okay. I guess because the cannonball's not expanding as much when the powder goes off. Because it's already expanded.
It's the same every time.
Okay.
Since the monkey's ass was a tubular device, it would cast a shadow on the ship's deck. Balls waiting to be warmed were kept nearby in the proverbial brass monkey. The whole works were manned by a powder monkey. That was the person who would put the powder in the cannon. When the shadow ran along the deck and almost reached the cannonball storage, it was late in the day, hence the expression. Now, John loved to throw this one at me.
Really?
Because we were talking about doing this episode, like I said, for a long time.
All right.
And he would, every time we talk about it, he acts like he didn't already tell me this, and he tells me again. Yeah, know what half past the monkey's ass according to his balls means?
I mean, he sure does like talking about,
balls?
Yeah.
So, that brings us to one of the words that you are no longer allowed to speak in this house.
It is forbidden. It's forbidden.
The prohibition is lifted for this podcast and this podcast only.
Yes. And now, this will be very surprising to you because this is not as terrible, as unspeakable as some of the other things someone, especially my age, could say. This word that I am banned from saying, and if I say it and it is heard from anywhere in the house, even just the faintest whisper, I will hear my name screamed, and that I am not allowed to speak this word. What could this word be? What could this terrible...
Let's preface this by saying it's not me saying you can't say this word.
No, it is not. What could be so terrible?
What is this horrible word that you are not allowed to
speak? Horrible thing.
Must be profane.
Jank.
It's just a weird word.
Jank.
So this is the Zoomer edition of where this word come from.
So
take it away, Zoomer.
All right. So jank is for something that's like off kilter, something that's not right or like seemed of low quality, such as this chair. This chair is jank because every time I speak and move, it wobbles one way or the other. That's jank.
Maybe the floor is jank and it's not the chair.
Maybe the floor is jank.
So
jank, 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 jank.
I got the
jank!
I got the definition: adjective, broken, unnecessarily redundant, meaningless, stupid, rhetorical, moronic, bootleg, or of questionable quality. So, but we did not look up the inception of this word. I did look it up, and it had something about Nordic knots or fucking...
Yeah, like it came from janky, and janky was thought to come from the Nords. The Nordic blood
no idea.
thrives within my veins.
So that's the extent of jank. Now you're banned from saying it ever again. Jank and Coolio are the two banned words from Nathan.
Coolio.
Coolio, that was jank.
Coolio is not jank.
See, now, I use a term called, that's hinky. And hinky means weird, off, or...
With an H, not a K.
Not right. I don't know where it comes from. But, like, when, in my profession, you walk on the unit, you could tell if something's hinky. Like the inmates aren't acting right. There's somebody's not acting the way they normally would. It's hinky. That's that. The end.
Jank.
So the term cracker. Now, we don't get political. We don't get racial here. But the term cracker is seen as a racial term used, especially in regards to poor rural whites in southern United States. Although commonly a pejorative, it can also be used in a neutral context. However, the term cracker comes from the cowboys that were in Florida or Georgia. They were known as Florida crackers or Georgia crackers. And it would be the crack of the whip to move the cattle.
Oh, okay.
It had nothing to do with race. It had nothing to do with slavery. It had everything to do with the sound that whip made to move the cattle. Florida crackers.
Okay.
And I learned that a long time ago, so that's why I tossed that one in.
All right.
That's the last one that is on my list that is deplenished because I didn't save properly. So what are some other things that because we had a discussion on this driving down to Philly.
Yeah.
When we were driving down to get the best pizza in the world.
Like the side of salt, that's one of the ones that we remembered while we were talking about.
Grain of salt.
Grain of salt. Sorry.
We talked about a bunch more too. And like every time you said one, I'm like, oh yeah, well, what the hell does that one mean? Where'd that come from? But if there's something we missed, comment below. If there's something you'd like us to research when it comes to these phrases, we could do a whole nother show. I'm sure there's a shitload of phrases out there that we haven't touched?
Oh, there are, especially within my generation.
Well, spit one out at me.
Go touch grass. Touch grass.
I can imagine what that means. I'll let you explain.
You see, my generation, we're very notorious for having very pale skin. We don't go outside. We don't see sunlight.
Because you're stuck on your fucking computers.
Yes. But go touch grass is something that is often used by the ones of us Zoomers or Gen Zers, who do go outside, say to those who don't.
I like Zoomers better.
I know you like Zoomers better.
Well, it reminds me of Boomers.
Well, I think that's where it came from.
I know it's where it came from. My mom was a Boomer. I'm Gen X. Lexi's a millennial. And you're a Gen Z or Zoomer.
I mean,
I like Zoomers. I don't so much like millennials. I love my daughter, but I don't so much like millennials.
and I will say, Zoomer, when I first heard Zoomer, I thought it was because we were very high energy.
No. It's because you're Gen Z, and the baby boomers were boomers. Gen Z would be Zoomers.
All right, fair enough.
Zoom, zoom, zoom. You know what that was from?
What?
Speed Buggy. It was a cartoon. He was an off-road dune buggy.
I'm sure after this podcast, thousands of terms will come to my mind.
You know, another one you and I could do is cartoons. Now, I know my buddy Casey from the Deluxe Edition is going to do cartoons coming up, 80s and 90s cartoons, because they do pop culture stuff.
All right.
But the difference between cartoons, but actually I'd love to have Lex here for that too, because the cartoons when I was younger, and then John's age, which is my brother's age, my brother's a little bit younger than him, and then Lexi's age and your age, the way the cartoons have changed over the years.
And even now, I will be the first to admit, early in the morning, before I've had my cup of coffee, my breakfast, I will sit down and I will watch a children's cartoon. Maybe not like
My Little Pony?
No. I won't watch something like that. Not anymore. That was when I was like 8.
When you were a brony.
Yes. And I won't watch like what Bubble Guppies. I won't watch something like that. But
No, not infant cartoons.
No.
I'm talking about cartoons.
Yeah. And even just between me growing up, which would probably be the cartoons that Lex watched, because that's probably why I watched a lot of them, because she did.
Well, like the cartoons that I watched my cartoons from my age.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had my brother. My brother was 9 years younger than me. So I watched the Transformers, I watched Voltron, I watched Thundercats, because he watched them. And then we had Lexi, and she watched like Cat Dog and I forget. I went through the list and like I watched half of those cartoons with
And
Lexi.
I watched some of them too, probably because she was watching them.
And then I've watched the dumbness that they call cartoons now
Yes.
because of you.
And it has gotten even worse.
Like, what are those Three Bears or?
What, We Bear Bears?
Yeah.
I don't watch that one.
You had it on here like a lot.
Well, because there's nothing else on.
I didn't watch that one, but it was on because yeah. I didn't watch Spider-Man because I like Spider-Man. I watched it because it was on. That's not true. I love Spider-Man.
I would have loved to watch Spider-Man. And there were some Spider-Man cartoons, but most of them were short-lived.
Here's a funny story. Years ago, I worked a job. And that job, everybody got done at 3:30, and I got done at 4. So for the last half hour, I'd put Spider-Man on the TV, and I'd watch Spider-Man. I watched whatever episode of Spider-Man was on that day.
And I really miss channels like Boomerang, because Boomerang would play.
Oh, they'd have Space Ghost on. They'd have I love Space Ghost.
Richie Rich.
Richie Rich was like my brother's era of cartoons.
Okay.
And kind of Lexi's. Lexi also like
Jesse and the
DuckTales.
Pussycats.
Yeah. Josie and the Pussycats was definitely my era. The original one.
Mm-hmm.
The Transformers was kind of my brother's era, but I love the Transformers. Lots of good cartoons. Anyway, that's a show on its own.
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely have to have the whole crew here for that.
It'd be cool to have Bob here for that, because Bob remembers a lot of those. Love Bob. He remembers a lot of those cartoons. So as for phrases and terms and words and their origins, I think, unless you have another Zoomer one for us.
They don't come to my mind. The way that the Zoomers work is that we have a thing, it lasts for a bit, and then we move on very quickly. Only a few of us linger on to things. And a lot of the things that we go through are just a rehash or like a rerun of something that's already been used.
Okay.
It's like a remake. Oh, I know how you hate remakes.
I hate remakes. So something to look forward to for a series that I'm going to do with Nathaniel. We want to do the history of different sodas.
Yes.
So I know the one for Pepsi is ready. I know the one for Coca-Cola is almost ready. But there are a couple other sodas that I want to throw out there.
Oh, yeah.
I want to do Fanta.
I know you want to do Fanta. You love Fanta's story.
Interesting story. I would like to do like Moxie, Green Dot, RC Cola.
I like RC Cola's story.
Yeah, RC Cola was like, I saw that story. It's cool, but I want to get more information than it's all. Like, I don't just want to do the same thing that everybody else has done.
Well, yeah.
I want to get more information or find something that people don't know. And like with Pepsi, at one point when they did Pepsi Crystal, they actually, and I can't find a picture of it anywhere, they had a clear can. It wasn't a can, it was a small bottle, but it was can-shaped bottle with a pop top. And I cannot find a picture of it. I know they had them because I had one. Anyway, you could find those kind of cans now for seltzers and stuff, but Pepsi Crystal had a clear one for a while. Maybe it didn't go over well. Maybe they punctured too easy. I don't know.
Before my time.
Yes. But, so Pepsi's almost ready. Or Pepsi's ready. Coca-Cola's almost ready. RC, there's a lot of research there.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you can dig deep with that.
I'd like to do Mountain Dew.
Really? Mountain Dew has a big history to it.
I don't know if it's a big history, but it's a separate history from what it is now. Dr. Pepper.
I love Dr. Pepper, and I would love to do a lot of the story about that.
So here and there, we're going to spatter a couple of them in, so look forward to that. So for this episode, I think we're done. We took on the origin of different phrases. Now you go take on the world, one phrase at a time.
Our podcasts exist because of listeners like you. To find other great shows, head over to TheDen.show. Thanks for listening.
Hold on, stop.
Welcome back to the Shit Show 2.0.
Okay, Boomer.
Damn millennials.
Wow. Did not know that. Even flirters who are obviously mentally ill.
You want to be my wife?
Oh, this is gonna go downhill real quick.